Hi, welcome to day 29 of 365 Days of Art. You can see day 28 behind me where I started some watercolor leaves following a tutorial by Shayda Campbell. I'm going to follow another tutorial by her today called Every Watercolor Flower That You'll Ever Need. So hopefully I'm going to make a couple of flowers, be able to pair them with my leaves, and tomorrow I'm going to design kind of my own watercolor piece and we will see where we get at. I'm looking forward to it. The leaves went really well and I always find watercolor super relaxing. Just let's shove everything else to the side, get some art in for the day. That being said, let's paint. Here we go. I've got my watercolors ready. And here are just all the brushes that I have available. I end up only using 2 of them, but these are my kind of designated watercolor brushes that I want to have on hand. And here we go, getting painting. So using this really little one, and this is the brush that I'm going to use throughout the whole video. It's just really good. It has a nice fine little point, so it's not great as far as going the distance. You'll run out pretty quick if you try to do a long line with it because its bristles aren't holding a lot of water, but to be able to get those very fine little details, it's perfect. And then here is the only other brush that I use in the video. It has really super soft bristles, carries a lot of water, and I do really like it. I can see continuing to use it for my watercolor, but these bristles just don't come to a fine point no matter what you do. I mean, you could slick them all the way down, and it's just the way the brush was made, so I'm just working around it with what I've got. These first couple flowers are pretty simple, and what I discovered as I was going with it, and if you're struggling with them, is that nature is not perfect. It's not symmetrical. It doesn't have the perfect little lines that we make for it up in our head. It's just really very kind of loose and a little bit messy, and I think that's something you can only learn through practice. Mine came out kind of alright, but hers are super beautiful, and that's just kind of that abstract flower where you learn as you go how to flick your brush to get that perfect little highlight in the middle, or rather imperfect is what we're going for. And imperfect is just what I had there. I had a little dollop of green that accidentally made its way into my little berries there, and as you could see, all I did was take a clean brush and just lift it right back up off the paper. It's helpful that that's a dark color, so it's definitely forgiving if I wanted to go back over and patch it back up. Yep. You ever go back and look at something and you know the exact moment you did something you didn't want to do? Well, you should record yourself and go back and watch it, and you'll feel this firsthand. Kind of messed up the petals on the top of that pansy just a little bit, but the bonus was that I super loved the leaves that I did for it. I thought those came out perfect. And right here, it looks like I'm painting nothing, but I'm actually painting a daisy. Oh, I love how light this is. I think this is what's going to make me fall in love with watercolor, is this and the next flowers are a super light pink, and I like the ones up in the top left that are also that really light color. I'll never forget, I want to say I was in 4th or 5th grade, and we all had to make little name signs for our desks, and we colored them in with either markers or colored pencil, and I did color pencil, and I just love very delicate light shading, so I had colored it in so intricately but very, very light, so when I went to paste it to the front of my desk to show my name, everybody had a really hard time reading it, and they're like, yeah, you're gonna have to go back in and darken that up. So maybe that's part of why I appreciate watercolors so much, is I am still in love with just that super light, wispy, transparent look. It's so gorgeous, and just the the subtle details that you can add when you're working with color that light, I think is fantastic. It's definitely a very calm, mythical or whimsical look, just depending on how you do it. See these little guys up here, up in the corner. Again, very light. I know it's kind of hard to see. I wish shining the light on it would make it easier to see, but it's not. It's just super light on the page. I do hope if you haven't tried watercolor that you give it a try and just step by step like this. I would look up some good tutorials. Maybe if I fall in love with watercolor, I'll do a couple tutorials of my own, but you just take your time and are really calm with it, very deliberate, slow, calculated strokes. Oh, I think it just comes across perfect. And it's funny to say that because part of that too is those very loose strokes, especially with these flowers. You want those kind of random edges on some of them. And just going back in and adding some shading, something I'd never really thought of with watercolor before, and maybe you haven't either. You just think of putting it down on the paper and painting with it, where with watercolor, what you really want to do is let it dry and then you can go back in, because if you paint wet on wet with watercolor, that's where you get a lot of that bleeding, which can cause a cool effect. But I have now learned about shading, which woohoo, unlocked a new skill. Do I get like +1 to watercolor? Can I make myself a little stat sheet? That could be a thing. All wrapped up once again. Finished the watercolor tutorial. I do highly recommend checking out some of her videos, super awesome. I'm happy with it. So that means tomorrow I'm going to venture out on my own. I'm hoping it goes better than when I ventured out with the one-stroke painting and designed my own thing. I think the biggest thing that I've taken away as I've been working on these, and definitely an issue I had with watercolor before, is it's so easy to stare at a blank page and feel like you need to fill up the whole thing. And while I know this is important across all artistic mediums to remember the importance of white space, that is almost like the quintessential thing that seems to be really important with watercolor. Obviously a little different with things like landscapes, but when you're kind of doing little very like stylistic, picturesque kind of one pieces, then that's where I can see very much like don't take away all your white. You do not need to fill up the entire page with color. Don't undervalue your negative space. That's what can give you those nice edges and little highlights here and there, just those little details that make us really love watercolor in the first place. And we're like, why do I really like this? And the job of an artist is to go beyond what you think you like seeing and to actually try to create that, which is its own entire other skill that you have to hone. Other than just being good at drawing something, you need to actually be able to imagine and put together your composition. So that's another reason why I keep doing these tutorials, trying to get better at the skills, but then trying to apply them on a whole and actually put them into something that I would do as my own artwork eventually. Would love to know what you are up artistically yourselves. Hit me up in the comments. If you liked this video, please click like, and if you want to see more content, definitely subscribe. I'll be back every day. See you guys tomorrow. Bye.